Welcome. Welcome. I don't know why this camera always want to go dark on me. Assalamu alaikum. We can get started. My channel. I don't know why it works. All right. All right, we're gonna get started. I thank all of you guys coming out. Assalamu alaikum. And we're talking about paint. So I got a request from Sister Black in California, and she was letting me know that she had been using some of the remedies from my channel, and she felt something come off of her back, and it rolled off of her back. And ever since then, she had been having problems in that room where that negative energy came off of her, with the lights blinking, knocking. And I explained to her that, she has a Haint, that negative energy came off of her and it's trying to re-enter. It's trying to infest in her house. It's trying to manifest. So I gave her a bunch of things that she can do, prayers that she can do. I gave her the 91st chapter of Psalms. You want to pray that. I gave her a couple of remedies that will move that negative energy. But ultimately, when you're having these problems, you will need to pray and be in connection with God. You will need to pray the 91st chapter of Psalms for protection. You will need to burn a candle, a white candle in that room, and set your incense. Open the window up and command that entity to leave. So the entity that came off of her ultimately wants to put her in fear, and that puts you in a low vibrational state, so that entity can re-enter your body. 7 other negative spirits attached to it and to you. So you want to guard against that. You want to pray against that. You want to read Surah Al-Hashr. That's 59:22 through 24, against that negative entity for protection. You can read uh, Ayat Kursi. I'm sorry, Ayat Al Kursi 2 and 255. When you're having those kind of negative entities in your house, where your lights are flashing, you hear on your door, 3 knocks on your door, where you hear knocking on your ceiling, where you hear knocking on the wall, you want to remove that negative energy, commanding that it leave your house. You do not want to be in that negative energy. We call them Haints where I'm from. In the South, we call them Haints. And we want to pray against, ultimately trying to put you in fear. And if they cannot enter you, they will try and enter into somebody that is a weaker vessel. Their ultimate goal is to be negative and to attack you and cause havoc in your life and in your house. So I wanted to cover this as part 2, because my part one to this will air tomorrow. But when she called me and she emailed me and let me know what was going on, I knew exactly what it was. And, I wanted her to use, the 23rd chapter Psalms, or the Psalms that I have given you guys, in order to pray over it and make some holy water. And I gave her a specific way to make her holy water so that she can sprinkle it her floor, over her threshold, especially in that room, in order to get rid of that negative energy. And in our consultation, and she has given me permission to use her story by requesting this topic. I asked her to go ahead and anoint her doorknob, anoint her door, cleanse her threshold with four thieves vinegar at the front and the back door, to remove any negative energy so that nothing can enter. And I advised her, when you hear that knocking, do not answer. Do not answer the door. Do not open the door, because it ultimately wants to come inside. It ultimately wants to reinfest in your body, or in your house, or in the weakest person in your home. And that, a person that is sickly, that could be a child, or anyone who is mentally challenged. It could reinfest in someone. So, at the end, you want to make sure that you are commanding that jinn, or that negative, malevolent spirit out of your house. You want to make sure that you open up the windows wherever you feel cold steel feeling in your house. You want to open your doors up. You want to open the windows up. Let the sunshine in. To make sure that the walls, the floors, there any bugs or anything like that that's hanging around in that area where you feel that negative energy, where that malevolent spirit can attack you. So we also know this as well, that we have people who have made movies about these negative jinns and entities. You have the Amityville horrors, back in the day, about a house that had attachments, stations that they couldn't get rid of, that nobody could stay in that house. When you have these kinds of infestations in your life, when you have those kinds of entities attached to or places, you have to be very strong against those negative energies and cast it out, command it out. That's one of the reasons I use the Holy Quran, because the entire book of the Holy Quran is a way that you can command it, with the prayer. You can walk through your entire house, and your house, and command it in prayer for that entity, and that entity will flee. When you have these kinds of attachments, you will not be able to sleep in your house. You will feel rest in your house. You will feel chaotic in your house. And as a matter of fact, chaos will break out in your house. And these are some of the signs of infestation. So you will, while you're sleeping, when you go to sleep and when you wake up, you'll notice scratches or marks upon your body. That is letting you know entity that has left you, that is still trying to linger and bring you low vibrational, put you in fear. They're still trying to attack you and enter your body, and you have purified your body, and they enter you, so they are attacking your flesh. You want against that, and I've given you the prayers. And let me make sure that we go back over the prayers that I had for you. Psalm 91, Psalms 121, and those are for protection. Surah Al-Asher, Al-Hasher, 59, 20, 22 through 24, and Ayat Al-Kursi, 255. So you want to make sure that you're using those prayers, those surahs in order of that negative attachment to a place. You do not want to, just say, oh, it'll go away. No, it is start attacking people. I've had many people that I have been to their land, I've been to their house where they had people fall down, break their leg, in the house, or somebody pushed them down the steps. I've had people become under attack while on the land. So you want to get rid of those negative energies, because when you have your pets, they start just sitting there looking around and looking in one direction. The cats, you might have to get rid of your cat if you have an attachment and you don't do anything about it, because they'll just sit there and look at that entity in your house. It will bother. It will start to bother your kids. It will start to manifest in your relationships, on your job. So ultimately, you always want to be able to get rid of that negative attachment. Once you start cleansing yourself, once you start cleaning that negative energy off of you, and it doesn't matter if it comes from a generational curse, it doesn't matter if sent that spirit and hired that spirit, you must continue to cast it out of your home, whatever it tries to become attached to. So that's somebody is sorry about that. Somebody blowing the horn at some kids. So ultimately, a lot of people hire me as a spiritual healer to get rid of these negative infestations in their home. And some of the things that they are describing, the lights blinking, some of the things they've shown me and sent pictures to me of scratches and bruises upon their bodies. And what I do is go in and finish what they started. I go in and pray over the area, and a lot of times you can feel the stale, or I can smell a smell in that room or the place that attachment has been. It will smell like rotten eggs or something really negative in that spot. And I've been able to use the incense from the sweet tree. I'll use that incense, and I can also use let me give you one more that you'll be able to use. You can use you can asphyxity, negative energy. So that's two of the incenses that use, and I'm giving you to be able to use to cast out that energy, that demonic energy that has left your body. You know, hi, how you doing, Marlo? How you doing? I think it's Gavin, Marlo. I hope that you guys do not let yourself become in fear, because ultimately that's what that negative entity wants. Don't be in fear. You need to stand strong against it, because like I said, it can attack you. It can attack in different ways in your life, and you'll be like, what is going on in my life? It is the negative entity that wants to re-enter where it at, where it's easy to enter back into you. And we want to make it as hard as possible. We're not going to make it easy, a spirit, a negative spirit and a jinn to enter back in our lives. So, some of the things that we can do is understand that when you have a lot of misfortune, the refrigerator is breaking, the food has spoiled, when you're having, um, arguments with your wife and husband, arguments in the family, you lost your job. That is that entity that is in your house. You need to finish that cleansing. You need to finish the cleansing of your house. You got it out of you. Now it's trying to attach to your house. You need to get it out of your house and cast it out. So I like to recommend, like I say, those that candle, that white candle, burn that white candle. And what you call it, I forgot the name of it just quick. It was in my High John the Conquer on that candle. You High John on that candle, and dress that candle with High John. You can dress that candle with asphyxity. You know, you can dress that room so that nothing able to stay in that room, and cleanse that room. Anoint the knobs, anoint the door. You know, you can make the holy water I showed her how to make, and pray over that holy water. Sure that you continue to cleanse yourself. Take a bath. That you continue to stay strong in the word of God. Put on the full armor of God, because it will do nothing less than try to re-enter your body, your mind. Keep your mind strong in the word of God. Make sure that you have that connection. You know, as we have been talking about spirits this week, and demonic attacks that your families have given you. So these are some of the repercussions that will come from that. Because once those spirits get used to you, we already talked about, how they like to be attached to women. Sometimes, when just because the earthly body died, or you drive them out of the body, that does not mean that entity is unalive. So we have to be prepared, to put on the armor of God. We can't fall short, because if we fall short, then that means that it's able to enter somewhere else. It's able to take over somewhere else. And we don't want it to take over our finances. We don't want it to take over in our relationships, on our jobs, in our kids. We cast that negative energy out, and it's going to stay gone. And we have to be firm against those kinds of negative entities. We can't, let up. We can't let it find nothing soften us. You got to stand firm on it. You got to stand on business when you are removing these type of negative entities. And so, I wanted to also say that the Black, when she heard that knocking at her door, she was automatically, and a lot of people be in fear when they hear that kind of stuff. So she called on the phone, and I could ultimately hear the knock as well, but there was nobody at the door on her camera system. And I'm glad that a lot of my people have these camera systems, because it can pick up, a lot of things on that system. But ultimately, what I could see is that every time that the knocking would start, is that it would, trigger some kind of, on the camera. And that's just letting you know that we need to thoroughly clean. We don't want to see any of. We don't want to be living in fear in our own houses. If it's, then you're going to pray about it, and you're going to claim it, because, I'm telling you now, my mother said, don't let nobody run you to your front door, and don't let nobody run you out of your house. And that's how we stand on business. And what it is, entity, human, or whatever it is, we stand on business. So, we're also going to look at what was the purpose, what I told her the purpose of the white candle was in her lighting that, because that's going to, the good energy in. You can also use a black candle in order to force that negative energy out of your life. You can force it out of that room with a black candle, so that entity attracted to nothing, that room has been cleaned. But ultimately, a lot of people will call me to do this kind of work because, they don't have the heart to do it. They don't. They will become in fear. I've had a couple of the males tell me when they hear that knocking that they were going to sleep in the truck, and so you cannot be in that state of mind. You can't go sleep in your truck and leave your wife and your kids in the house. You can't have that kind of fear and expect, to drive out the negative energy. So these are some of the ways that we always want to, let somebody else handle it if we cannot handle the negative entity. If we are used to handling that kind of angry spirit, if we do not have the knowledge to drive that kind of negative entity out. I know a lot of uh the new healers, the new practitioners, a lot of them will get in fear, and you don't want to be in fear. So you want to get somebody who is used to, you know, dealing with these kind of entities. And like I said, a couple of months ago, he's in on their land because of mirrors that was when we have and people call me because I'm not going to be cowardice and be cowered down at an entity that's trying to poke somewhere and make the light and stuff shake in the house. Now we're gonna hit that with the holy water, you know, with some four thieves vinegar. We're hitting it. We're gonna pray for it together. Against anything negative. No, we're not going to let anything harm us, anything or anybody else. How you gonna, let something harm somebody in your house? I have a tendency to, when I enter those kinds of situations, to go that entity. Aren't you dead? Okay, you need to go ahead and go and rest. Aren't you dead? Leave this place. And you have to have that kind of commanding spirit when you're dealing with those kinds of negativities, because ultimately they will take over, they will try to scare you, and they will, just infest your house where you won't be able to stay there. And that's why you have to have that harsh against that negative entity. I've had to, wash the walls. I've had to, remove certain articles out of people's house because it was infested. It wasn't just the mirror. It was things that had been in the house, in the family, you know, and I'm talking about lamps, a Tiffany, that every time I entered the house, it would just light up in the room. It would turn on by itself. Every time somebody was praying, it would just light up by itself. But that ultimately, that lamp had been there, for like 3 or 4 generations. So those entities are attracted to things that they can, infest, things that they can, just stay in and just live out their messing up your life ultimately. And you have very stern, what I'm saying, you got to be hard against these kinds of negative entities. You got to be able to deal with these entities in a very harsh way to drive them out, command them out. And again, that's how come I started reading the Holy Quran, because when I was using the Holy Bible, and I'm looking in my house, and people had hired entities to send to me to my life, and I'm looking at the heater, with my husband at the time. I'm looking at it sitting in the middle of the floor, and it just starts moving and rocking on its own. Oh, he went and got in the bed and covered his head up. Now, I broke out with the style and started praying through my house, because you're not finna run me out of here. You not run me in the bed, you know. So this is why a lot of people get their priest, they get their man or woman of God, in order to remove these negative energies from their life, because you can't be afraid of them. They are trying to make you harm yourself. They are trying to hurt you. They are trying to, make you have a heart attack, or something that you ultimately in yourself, and your spirit is there with them now. So you need to go ahead and get somebody that is experienced when you're dealing with these negative entities. When you start having dreams as of this entity in your house, you start having nightmares. You start having dreams of somebody trying to feed you something. Start having dreams of somebody having sex with you in your dream. Ultimately, it could be this entity that's attached, be somebody that hired a demonic entity to attack but ultimately, none of that is good when you're seeing that in your dreams. None of that is good when you're having a nightmare. A nightmare is a negative entity that was to attack you, or an entity that has been, you know, uh, that has been malevolent in nature, already attached to the place, or come out of you as attachment. So you need to understand that you will know how to get rid of these negative entities. And if you cannot do it yourself, if you are not strong enough to force them out and command your house and your life, you will need to hire a person that is experienced with getting rid of people. To walk in the park. No, because when they like their host, when they like the person that they've been in, when they like the place where they're residing at, when they like filthy places, they will try to return, and they will want to stay in that place, and they will want to re-enter with more than one, several other evil, negative attachments. So we always want to cleanse that. We always want to stay connected to God. We always want to stay grounded, and know what Bible verses, what surah read against these negative entities to keep them from attaching to us. We always want to make sure that we are, and we're using the rituals from the holy books to cleanse ourselves. There's nothing wrong with making some holy water and praying over your house, or mopping your floor with the mopping your that the place where the entity is with four thieves vinegar. There's nothing wrong with using the rituals of the Holy Bible. That is why I'm teaching a spiritual defense, so that you will have these arsenals, and you will know what to do, and not go running scared somewhere, and understanding that this is not a movie. This is real life. And if you let it stay, then you won't be able to stay in it. So that this has helped you. I hope that I've given you some rituals. Do any of you, I hope that you caught my earlier post. Do you know how to make your holy water and pray over your water, to use the purified water, coffee, and a joint? uh, well, every religious book is wrong. It's too much information in there that is the same. So, I don't need to explain it to you. There enough movies about what I'm talking about for it to already, to be facts. So, I hope that help you guys. You can reach out to me in my description. You can reach out to me in my bio. Book a consultation. You can a session with me. You can also request your topics and donate to me. I'm High Oracle, Reiki spiritual healer, Isa.